The shotgun blast echoed through the hollows of the Appalachian woods like a thunderclap from God's own fury, splintering the silence of that rain-soaked October dawn. Nathaniel Hale's hands trembled as he clutched the old Remington his grandma had taught him to fire, the barrel still smoking, aimed at nothing but the ghosts of his unraveling life. "You ain't leavin' me with them," he'd whispered to her fading form the night before, her frail hand squeezing his with the last of her fire. But now, with her gone, the war she'd shielded him from roared to life. Nathaniel stood frozen on the sagging porch of the old Hale farmhouse, the kind of place that clung to the hillsides of western Pennsylvania like a stubborn weed, its white clapboard peeling under years of relentless wind and regret. The air hung heavy with the scent of wet earth and decaying leaves, the first real bite of fall nipping at his knuckles as he gripped the porch rail. At 24, he was all sharp angles and quiet storms. 6 feet of lean muscle honed from chopping firewood and mending fences. His dark hair cropped short against the chill, green eyes the color of the mossy creek that bordered the property. He'd always been the boy who fixed things. The leaky roof after a storm, the rusted gate that squeaked like a banshee, the family's fractured silences. But nothing could fix what came next. Inside, the kitchen clock ticked like a heartbeat slowing to a stop. Grandma Ruth, Eleanor Ruth Hale to those who feared her iron will, lay in the parlor, her body finally stilled after 87 years of battling everything from black lung in the coal mines. Her husband had slaved into the bigotry that festered in her son's heart like an untreated wound. She'd raised Nathaniel from the day he'd stumbled out of the closet at 16. A confession spat out in tears over a plate of her apple cobbler, only to be met with his father's bellowing rage and his mother's averted eyes. "Abomination," Harlan Hale had snarled, his meaty fists clenched as if he could punch the truth out of his boy. But Ruth? She'd stood like a oak in a hurricane, her voice steady as the Ohio River. "This here's my blood, Harlan. You touch him, you answer to me." For 8 years, she'd been his fortress. The family, Harlan, his wife Lydia, and their brood of pious cousins, had circled like vultures, whispering prayers that weren't for healing but for erasure. Church on Sundays in the clapboard Baptist Hall down in Milford, where Pastor Elias thundered about Sodom and fire, and the Hales nodded along, their eyes sliding past Nathaniel like he was a stain on the pew. But Ruth dragged him there anyway, her gnarled hand on his knee during the sermons, muttering under her breath, "Let 'em stew in their own poison." At home, she'd teach him the old ways. How to snare a rabbit without pity, how to brew dandelion wine that burned sweet on the tongue, how to love fierce and unapologetic in a world that demanded shame. "You're Hale through and through, boy," she'd say, her eyes twinkling like the fireflies that danced in the jar by her bedside. "Don't you let 'em carve that out of you." Now she was gone, slipped away in the witching hour with the rain drumming on the tin roof, her last words a rasp against his ear. "Fight for this place, Nate. It's yours. Don't let 'em take it." The farmhouse wasn't much. 2 stories of creaking floors and wallpaper yellowed by time, a barn sagging with hay bales, 30 acres of timber and pasture that Harlan had always eyed like a fox in a henhouse. But it was home, the only anchor in a sea of rejection. Ruth had deeded it to him years back, a quiet notary stamp in her dresser drawer, whispering, "Insurance, darlin', against the wolves." The wolves arrived at noon, tires crunching gravel like bones underfoot. Harlan's pickup, a rusted Ford with bumper stickers proclaiming, "One nation under God," and "Guns save lives," pulled up first, followed by Lydia's sensible minivan stuffed with their 3 kids. Now teens, all wide-eyed and Bible-clutching. Cousins trailed in. Cousin Zeke with his moonshine breath, Aunt Clara with her pursed lips and rosary beads. Harlan stepped out like he owned the earth, his belly straining against a flannel shirt, face weathered like old leather, eyes cold as the creek in January. "Nate," he grunted, not quite a greeting, more a summons. He didn't climb the steps, just stood at the base, arms crossed like barriers. "Heard about Mama. Tragic. We'll handle the arrangements." Nathaniel's jaw tightened, the shotgun's weight still phantom in his palms from that morning's futile vigil in the woods. He'd fired it to clear his head, the recoil a jolt that echoed Ruth's laugh, deep and unyielding. "Handle?" he echoed, voice low, stepping into the doorway's shadow. You mean bury her quick, so you can forget she ever stood against you? Harlan's face darkened, a vein pulsing at his temple. Watch your mouth, boy. This ain't the time for your nonsense. The word hung, laced with the old venom, the one that had driven Nathaniel to nights spent staring at the ceiling, wondering if jumping from the barn loft would end the ache faster than living with it. Lydia hovered behind, wringing her hands, her floral dress a flag of false surrender. Nate, honey, we're family. Let us help. The pastor's comin' tomorrow to pray over the house. Cleanse it, after everything. The implication landed like a slap. Cleanse. As if his very breath had tainted the walls where Ruth had sung him hymns and hidden love letters from boys he'd never dared bring home. Nathaniel's chest burned, a familiar fire. Everything, he repeated, stepping down to meet Harlan's glare. You mean the part where she loved me? The part where she saw me as her grandson, not some sin you could pray away. Zeke snorted from the truck bed, spitting tobacco juice into the mud. Boy's got fire in him, Harlan. Must be that devil's spark. Enough, Harlan barked, but his eyes flicked to the deed drawer upstairs, as if he could smell the paper's betrayal. Ruth had been canny, slipping the transfer past him during one of his benders, when the whiskey dulled his vigilance. Mama was sick at the end. Delirious. Whatever she signed don't count. We're talking the house, sellin' it. Pay for a proper funeral, debts, all that. Nathaniel laughed, a bitter bark that startled the crows from the oak. Delirious? She outlasted 2 husbands and a depression, Pa. She knew exactly what she was doing. He straightened, the weight of her absence pressing like a yoke. This was the spark, the war she'd foreseen. Not bullets, but words sharper than buckshot, slicing through blood ties thinner than spit. As the family murmured, engines idling like threats, a distant rumble cut the tension. Thunder, or maybe fate rolling in. Nathaniel turned back to the house. Ruth's quilt draped over her still form inside, and felt the first crack in his armor. He wasn't alone, not yet. But the fight, it was just beginning. That night, alone with the ghosts, Nathaniel pored over Ruth's papers by lantern light, the flame-dancing shadows across her spidery script. Bills paid in full, a will etched in fountain pen. Everything to him, her brave heart. A single photo slipped free, a faded Polaroid of him at 18, arms slung around a boy from the county fair, both grinning under string lights, innocent as summer. He'd burned that bridge years ago, fleeing to Pittsburgh for a semester at community college, only to slink back when Ruth's cough turned wet. No one since, not really. Love was a luxury for men who weren't hale outcasts. Sleep evaded him, the rain a relentless tattoo. By dawn, resolve hardened like frost on the fields. He'd call the lawyer in Milford, old Mr. Hargrove, who'd notarized the deed with a wink, and a Ruth's got more sense than the lot of 'em. But as he brewed coffee black as his mood, a knock rattled the door, soft, hesitant, not the family's hammer fist. He opened it to find Sebastian Cole, the new vet from town, soaked to the bone, holding a towel-wrapped bundle that mewled faintly. Mr. Hale? Sorry to bother, your grandma mentioned the barn cats. One's in labor complications. Thought you might. Well, she said you'd know what to do. Sebastian was a transplant, 26 and city slick from Philly, with hair the color of wet sand curling at his collar, blue eyes sharp as a scalpel, a jaw that could cut glass. He'd shown up 6 months back, leasing the old clinic on Main, treating livestock with a gentleness that raised eyebrows in a town where mercy was for the weak. Ruth had taken to him immediately, trading jars of preserves for checkups on her ancient lab, Boomer. Nathaniel blinked, the world tilting. She. Yeah. Come in. He led the way to the kitchen, the bundle, a tabby queen panting, placed on newspapers by the stove. As Sebastian gloved up, murmuring encouragements, Nathaniel fetched towels, their shoulders brushing in the cramped space. A spark, unbidden, like dry tinder kissed by flame. She's been a skin about you, Sebastian said between pulls, his voice steady, hands sure. Said you were the only one worth a damn around here. Nathaniel swallowed, the words a balm on raw skin. She had a way of seeing clear. The first kitten arrived slick and squalling, and as Sebastian cleaned it, their eyes met, held. In that gaze, a question. What now, in this house of the dying and the defiant? By morning, the litter nursed, and Sebastian lingered over coffee, rain easing to mist. Heard about Ruth. Town's buzzin'. Your family's. Vocal. Nathaniel snorted, staring into his mug. Vocal's polite. They're plottin' a coup. Sebastian's brow furrowed, concern etching lines. You need backup? I ain't much for family feuds, but I know a thing or two about fightin' for the underdog. The offer hung, simple as bread, and Nathaniel felt the ice crack further. For the first time since the shotgun's roar, he wasn't adrift. But the war? It waited, patient as the hills. The Milford courthouse squatted on the town square like a judgmental elder, its red brick facade scarred by ivy and indifference, the kind of place where justice was doled out in whispers and backroom deals. Nathaniel arrived at 9 sharp, Sebastian's truck idling at the curb. Backup, as promised, though he'd waved off the offer with a gruff, I got this. Lies came easy these days. Inside, the air smelled of polished wood and stale coffee, clerks shuffling papers like cards in a rigged game. Mr. Hargrove's office was a closet of leather-bound tomes and faded diplomas, the old man peering over half-moons, his bow-tie askew. Ruth was sharp as a tack. Nate, deeds ironclad, witnessed, filed, the works. But Harlan? He's filed a contest. Claims undue influence, incapacity. Got affidavits from the pastor and your aunt swearin' she was not in her right mind last year. Nathaniel's fists clenched on the armrests, knuckles whitening. Undue? She raised me while he was off preachin' hellfire. That's influence. Hargrove sighed, the sound of a man who'd seen too many hails. Blood's thick, son. Thicker when money's involved. Farm's worth a tidy sum now. Timber rights that creek frontage developers are sniffin' after. Harlan wants it auctioned. Split among the true heirs. The word true landed like acid. Nathaniel leaned forward, voice steel. And if I fight? Probate drags months, maybe years. Costs money you ain't got. But win and it's yours free and clear. Ruth left a trust fund too, small but enough for seed money. She planned for this. Nate knew her boy's heart. Outside, Harlan's crew loitered by the fountain, Zeke cracking jokes that carried on the breeze, Lydia praying audibly with the kids in a circle. Spotting Nathaniel, Harlan straightened, his glare a promise. Prayin' for your soul, boy, and the house. Sebastian, leaning against his truck, pushed off at the sight, falling in step as Nathaniel emerged. How bad? Bad enough they think prayers rewrite deeds. He climbed in, the door slamming like punctuation. As they rumbled back toward the hills, Sebastian's radio crackled with an old Springsteen track, Thunder Road, all heartache and escape. Fitting. You ever think about leavin'? Sebastian asked, eyes on the winding blacktop. Philly's got more than cats in labor. Real life, you know? Nathaniel watched the farms blur by, goldenrod waving in the fields. Tried once. Lasted 6 months. Ruth called, cuffin' up a lung, and I was back. This place. Its poison and roots all tangled up. He paused, the admission slipping free. Besides, who runs then? Let 'em win. Sebastian nodded, slow like he got it. The pull of legacy, the drag of belonging nowhere else. Fair. But you don't fight alone. That's what vets do. Patch the wounds, hold the line. At the farmhouse, Boomer greeted them with a tail wag and a slobbery kiss, the tabby queen purring from her box. They spent the afternoon mending the east fence, Sebastian's hammer swings syncing with Nathaniel's, sweat beading despite the chill. Talk flowed easy. Sebastian's escape from a Wall Street grind that chewed up his brother, his hidden sketches of the countryside tucked in his glove box. Landscapes alive with hidden stories. Nathaniel shared scraps. The fairground kiss that shattered his world. The nights he'd hiked the ridge alone, screaming into the void until his voice gave out. As dusk painted the sky bruise purple, They cracked beers on the porch, the swing creaking under their weight. Sebastian's knee brushed his, accidental at first, then lingering. "Ruth told me about you," he said softly, label peeling under his thumb. "Said you had a heart big as these hills. Rare thing." Nathaniel's pulse quickened, the air thickening. She saw what she wanted, but his eyes betrayed him, tracing the curve of Sebastian's lip, the way his shirt clung to shoulders broad from hauling feed sacks. Sebastian set his bottle down, turning fully. Maybe she saw true. The kiss came then, tentative as a foal's first step, lips meeting soft, tasting of hops and hesitation. Nathaniel pulled back first, breath ragged, fear and want warring in his chest. "Harlan finds out. Let him." Sebastian's hand cupped his jaw, thumb tracing stubble. "I'm not hiding, Nate. Not anymore." They didn't rush it that night or the ones after. Stolen touches in the barn, whispers over shared suppers of venison stew Ruth's recipe demanded. Sebastian stayed over, his presence a buffer against the empty rooms, their bodies curling together under quilts heavy with history. Comfort, not conquest. Love blooming quiet as the first snowflakes dusting the eaves. But the war escalated. Harlan's lawyer sent a cease and desist, barring Nathaniel from the property pending resolution. Cousin Zeke trespassed one foggy morning, chainsaw buzzing as he felled a stand of oaks by the creek. "Trim in for the sale," he claimed, grinning through tobacco stains. Nathaniel confronted him, fists balled, Sebastian hauling him back before blows landed. "They're testing you," Sebastian murmured later, icing a split knuckle. "Wear you down." The funeral was a farce. Milford Baptist packed with mourners who hadn't visited in years, Pastor Elias droning about Ruth's earthly trials and heavenly reward, conveniently omitting her trials included sheltering a gay grandson. Harlan eulogized her as the family's rock, his voice cracking artfully, eyes dry as dust. Nathaniel sat in the back, Sebastian's hand hidden under the pew, a lifeline. When the casket lowered into the hillside plot, next to Grandpa Hale, under the same oak she'd planted as a girl, Nathaniel broke, tears hot and silent, whispering, "I got you, Gran. I swear." After, at the graveside potluck, Clara cornered him, Bible clutched like a shield. "Repent, Nathaniel. For her sake. This lifestyle. It's killin' what's left of this family." He met her gaze, unflinching. "What's killin' it is the hate you call faith, Aunt. Ruth taught me better." Word spread like wildfire through Milford's diners and feed stores. The queer boys' claim on the Hale land, the city vet sniffin' around. Threats scrawled on the mailbox. "Sodom's comin'." And a rock through the kitchen window one starlit night, shattering glass and a jar of Ruth's jam. Sebastian patched it with plywood, his jaw set. "We report this." "To who?" "Sheriff Tate's Harlan's deacon." Nathaniel paced, adrenaline sour in his veins. "It's a siege, Seb. They want me gone." "Then we fortify." Sebastian pulled him close, foreheads touching, breaths mingling. "You're not Ruth's only legacy. You're mine now, too." In the quiet that followed, tangled in sheets that smelled of pine and possibility, Nathaniel let himself believe it. Love, he'd learned, wasn't a fairy tale but a choice, fierce, flawed, worth the bruises. But dawn brought the next salvo. A court date set, Harlan's petition to evict. The war, once a spark, now raged full. Winter clamped down on the Appalachians like a vice, snow blanketing the hills in deceptive peace, turning the world monochrome save for the evergreen's defiant green. Nathaniel shoveled the drive for the third time that week, breath fogging in plumes, Sebastian hauling buckets of salt from the barn. Their routine had solidified. Mornings mending what the cold broke, afternoons poring over Hargrove's briefs by the fire, evenings lost in each other. Conversations deep as the mine shafts that scarred the valley, touches that mapped scars neither had voiced. But the eviction notice burned a hole in Nathaniel's pocket, delivered by certified mail with Harlan's signature flourish. Vacate by January 15th. It decreed, or face sheriff's lockout. The date loomed like a guillotine, 2 weeks hence, and Milford buzzed with speculation. Bets in the bar on whether the ferry would fold. Hargrove's strategy was guerrilla. File countersuits for harassment. Rally witnesses to Ruth's lucidity. We need character refs, the lawyer said over tea in his cluttered office. Steam curling like secrets. Folks who'll swear you ain't the devil incarnate. Sebastian volunteered first, his testimony typed neat. Known Nathaniel 6 months. Man of integrity. Cares for this land like his own kin. Others trickled in. The diner waitress who'd slipped Nathaniel free pie since he was a kid. Old Mr. Jenkins from the lumber mill who'd hunted with Ruth and called her Queen of the Ridge. Even Pastor Elias's wife, Quiet Miriam, penned a note. Ruth loved fierce. So does her boy. Yet doubt nod. Late nights, Nathaniel paced the parlor. Ruth's Bible open on the mantel. Dog-eared at Psalms, underlined with her fierce script. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. What if it's not enough? He'd mutter, and Sebastian would draw him down, hands framing his face. It is. You're enough. The betrayal came on a sleet-lashed afternoon, the kind that turned roads to glass. Nathaniel was in town for supplies, Sebastian covering a calving at the neighboring farm, when he spotted Zeke's truck parked crooked outside the courthouse annex. Curiosity pulled him in, boots tracking slush across the linoleum. Voices filtered from a side room, Harlan's gravel rumble, Zeke's wheeze. Boy's got that queer lover now. Vet from the city. Pastor says it's corruption, plain. We lean on the judge, remind him of the tithes. Nathaniel froze, blood roaring in his ears. Corruption. The word twisted like a knife, but worse was the next. Lydia's voice, soft but steel-edged. I saw the papers, Harlan. Ruth left him everything, the trust, too. But if we prove he's unstable, influencing her, we could contest the will entire. Unstable. The lie landed heavier than snow. Nathaniel pushed the door ajar, silhouette stark. Ma? You too. Lydia gasped, hand to throat, pearls glinting like accusations. Harlan whirled, face purpling. Eavesdrop pin? Get out, boy. But Nathaniel stepped in, voice steady as the ridge. Unstable? That's your play? After she wiped your fever brows? Baked your damn casseroles? For what? 30 acres and a grudge. Zeke shifted, uneasy, but Harlan advanced, finger jabbing. You poisoned her, Nate. Filled her head with your filth. She wasn't right ramblin' about love's no sin. Quotin' that liberal trash. We fix this or the hail name's mud. Lydia's eyes darted, conflict flickering. Mother's instinct warring with doctrine. Nate, please, think of your sisters. The scandal. Scandal. He laughed, hollow. You made me the scandal, Ma. Kicked me out at 16. Left me to Ruth's mercy. And now you betray her memory for a payout. She flinched, tears welling. But Harlan grabbed his arm, grip bruising. Out. Or I call Tate now. Nathaniel wrenched free, storming into the sleet, vision blurred by more than weather. Betrayal, from his own blood, the woman who'd birthed him, now plotting to erase him. He drove home wild, tires fishtailing, pulling up to find Sebastian waiting, concern etching his brow. What happened? Sebastian pulled him inside, shedding wet coats, the fire crackling welcome. Nathaniel sank to the rug, words tumbling. The meeting, the lies, Lydia's complicity. They're comin' for it all, Seb. The house, the land, me. Sebastian knelt, arms enveloping, heartbeat a drum against Nathaniel's cheek. Then we hit back harder. Affidavits on the harassment, Zeke's trees, the rocks. Medical records proven Ruth was sharp as ever. But the hurt festered, a shadow between them. That night, as snow piled against the panes, Nathaniel pulled away, staring at the ceiling beams Ruth had painted with stars. What if I drag you into this? Your practice, town turns on you too. Sebastian propped on elbow, eyes fierce. I'm in, Nate. From the first kitten. You think I'd bail on a war worth fightin'? The kiss that followed was desperate, a reclaiming, lips bruised, hands clutching as if to anchor against the storm. They made love slow, reverent, bodies speaking what words couldn't. I choose you. amid the ruins. Afterward, tangled and spent, Nathaniel traced Sebastian's tattoos. A compass rose on his rib, ink from a wilder youth. "Points north," Sebastian murmured. "Always." Dawn brought resolve. They rallied. Hargrove subpoenaed Lydia for deposition, forcing her hand. The town divided, old-timers who'd owed Ruth favors tipping scales, younger folk whispering support in grocery lines. Even Miriam Elias slipped Nathaniel a key to the church basement. "Store what you need. Harlan don't own grace." The court date arrived under a sky heavy as judgment, the hearing room stuffy with wool coats and tension. Judge Harlan, unrelated mercifully, banged gavel, face impassive as Harlan Sr. took the stand, swearing Ruth's decline under his influence. She doted on him unnatural, ignored family counsel. Lydia followed, voice quavering, eyes downcast. "My son, he's troubled. We fear for his stability." The words choked her, but she spoke them, betrayal sealed. Nathaniel's turn came, heart pounding as he recounted Ruth's final days. Her clarity, her choice, the love that bound them. "She wasn't poisoned, Your Honor. She was free." Sebastian's testimony sealed it. "Nathaniel's the steadiest man I know, and Ruth, she planned her legacy with eyes wide open." The judge adjourned for deliberation, the room emptying to glares and murmurs. Outside, snow swirled, Harlan hissing, "This ain't over, boy." But Lydia lingered, approaching tentative. "Nate, save it, Ma." He turned away, Sebastian's hand on his back a shield. 2 days later, the ruling. Deed upheld, eviction quashed, countersuit for damages pending. Victory bittersweet. The farm was his, but the family? Shattered irreparably. As they drove home through drifts, Nathaniel exhaled, the weight lifting fractionally. "We did it." Sebastian grinned, squeezing his thigh. But the war's got legs yet." He was right. Harlan appealed, dragging probate into spring's thaw, but cracks showed. Zeke quit the crew, muttering about Ruth's ghost, and Lydia sent a letter, apology scrawled shaky. "Forgive me, I was scared." Nathaniel burned it in the stove, ashes swirling like doubts. Spring greened the hills, dogwoods blooming defiant, and their love deepened. Picnics by the creek, Sebastian's sketches capturing Nathaniel midlaugh, a life stitched from fragments. Yet the appeal loomed a specter. One evening, as fireflies ignited the meadow, Sebastian knelt by the porch steps. Ring simple, silver band etched with a ridge line. "Marry me, Nate. Not for show. For us." Tears pricked, joy sharp. Yes. The kiss sealed it under stars Ruth had named. But war doesn't end with truces. Harlan's next move. An anonymous tip to the county zoning board accused Nathaniel of illegal operations on the land. Inspectors swarming like locusts. The real betrayal? It came from within. Sebastian's phone buzzing late. A text from an old Philly contact. Heard about the farm fight. Leverage. Summer scorched the Appalachians. Humidity thick as regret, turning the air to soup and tempers to tinder. The farm thrived under Nathaniel's hands. Vegetable patch bursting with tomatoes red as fresh blood. The barn repainted white against the heat haze. Sebastian's practice boomed. His gentle touch with foals and farrows drawing clients even from Harlan's circle, though glares followed. Their engagement was quiet. No announcements, just the ring glinting on Nathaniel's finger like a talisman, worn under gloves during town runs. The inspector's report cleared them, no violations noted, but suspicion lingered, a sour note. Nathaniel waved it off over breakfast, bacon sizzling in the iron skillet Ruth had seasoned with decades of grease. Harlan's bluffin'. Again. Sebastian, flipping eggs with practiced flip, frowned. Maybe, but that text. Coincidence. The message had been innocuous, Sebastian's college buddy, offering pro bono legal advice on property disputes. But the timing itched. Nathaniel trusted him, bone deep. Doubt was Harlan's poison, not theirs. Let it go. We've got a wedding to plan. Plans were modest. Backyard vows under the oak, a handful of allies, Hargrove as officiant, Miriam baking the cake, Jenkins stringing lights. Invites went to the faithful few, and for a week, peace reigned. They hiked the ridge at sunset, Sebastian's hand in his, talking futures. Expanding the vet clinic into a shelter for strays, Nathaniel's dream of a community garden. Feed the town that half-hates us. Laughter came easy, love a river carving stone. Then the leak. Milford Gazette ran a front-page smear. Hale heirs, unholy union threatens family legacy. Anonymous source quoting concerns from devout kin about the engagement. Twisting it into scandal. Pastor Elias thundered from the pulpit that Sunday. Sodom's gates creep close. Repent or be swept away. Attendance swelled. Tithes poured. Harlan's truck parked bold at the church doors. Nathaniel read the article by lamplight, paper crumpling in his fist. Who? Zeke's too dumb. Clara's too pious. Sebastian paced, phone in hand. I called my buddy. He swears he didn't tip. But, shit, Nate, what if it's the appeal docs? Harlan's lawyer subpoenaed my records. Client lists, overlaps with Ruth. The connection snapped taut. Sebastian's visits to the farm, logged as animal care. But twisted? Influence again. Nathaniel's stomach nodded. You think they're paintin' you as the seducer? City boy corruptin' the widow's boy. Worse, making it look like I coached Ruth. Pushed the deed for leverage. Sebastian stopped, face ashen. I didn't know her then, Nate. Swear. I know. But the seed sprouted, fed by years of slights. That night, sleep fractured. Dreams of Ruth accusing, her eyes dim with betrayal. Morning brought confrontation. Not with Harlan, but the mail. A manila envelope, no return address, spilling photos. Grainy shots of them kissing by the creek, hands intertwined on the porch. Backed by a note. Zeke's scrawl. Keep the land. Lose the lover. Or everyone sees. Blackmail. The war turned personal, venomous. Nathaniel stormed Zeke's trailer on the outskirts, Sebastian tailing in protest. The door swung open to shotgun in hand, Zeke's eyes bloodshot. Easy, cousin. Just business. Business. Nathaniel lunged, fists flying, connecting with jaw before Sebastian hauled him off. You spy on us? For him. Zeke wiped blood, chuckling wet. Harlan pays. Said you'd cave when it hurts. Sebastian's voice cut ice. This is assault. Extortion. I'll press charges. Vet board. Cops all. Zeke's grin faltered. Do it. Pa's got the judge's ear. And these pics go viral in Milford by noon. The drive back was silence, broken only by Nathaniel's ragged breaths. At the farm, he shattered a mug against the sink, porcelain shards scattering like trust. I can't, Seb, if they ruin you. Stop. Sebastian gripped his shoulders, forcing eye lock. We go public. Own it. Let the town choke on their hate. The decision crystallized over coffee gone cold. They called Hargrove, who whistled low. Bold. Use it in the appeal, show the harassment's personal, bigoted. But it'll burn bridges. They're ash already, Nathaniel said. The press conference was Hargrove's idea, courthouse steps, local reporter from the Gazette, a cameraman from Pittsburgh News sniffing drama. Sebastian stood tall, arm around Nathaniel, rings catching sun. We're engaged, Nathaniel announced, voice carrying clear. And we're fighting for our home, not against family, but for love Ruth Hale championed. Harassment ends today. Charges filed. Murmurs rippled. Flashes popped. Harlan, watching from his truck across the square, face thunderous, peeled out tires screaming. Lydia, in the crowd, turned away, shoulders slumped. Fallout hit like autumn gale. Clients canceled on Sebastian, graffiti on the clinic, fag vet out, tires slashed. But support surged too. Letters from hidden allies, a GoFundMe for legal fees topping $5,000 overnight, even a pride flag fluttering defiant from Jenkins' porch. The appeal hearing loomed, now a circus. National outlets sniffing rural Romeo and Juliet, activists offering aid. In the eye, they stole moments. Bonfire nights roasting marshmallows, Sebastian's head on Nathaniel's lap, stars wheeling overhead. Worth it. Sebastian asked once, vulnerability cracking his armor. Every scar. Nathaniel kissed his temple, meaning it. The high point shattered mid-October, leaves aflame. Sebastian's phone rang during a routine check. Philly number. His brother. Saw the news. Dad's pissed. Says you're throwing away the family name. But, congrats, man. Took guts. Relief. Then the gut punch. Wait, Dad? He knows. A pause. Heavy. Yeah, I told him. After the pics leaked online. Thought he'd. Hell, I don't know. Protect you. Betrayal, again, from blood not his own but close. Sebastian's face drained. Phone dropping. My brother. He forwarded M. to Harlan's camp. Leverage for the appeal. Nathaniel pulled him close. The world narrowing to heartbeat. Not your fault. Families. They're storms we weather. But the storm broke them temporary. Sebastian withdrew, burying in work, sketches abandoned. Nathaniel gave space, tending the land solo, axe biting wood in rhythmic fury. Ruth's voice echoed in swings. Love ain't easy, boy. It's the fight that makes it holy. Reconciliation came slow. A shared supper, venison and wild greens, words tentative. I pushed him away once, Sebastian confessed. Fork paused. After college, when he outed me to Dad. Thought it'd save us both. Didn't. Nathaniel reached across, hands linking. No more pushin'. We're the I now. Calm in the chaos. The appeal date dawned crisp. Frost silvering the fields. Court packed. Reporters, locals split down aisles like a divided congregation. Harlan testified last, voice booming. This union's a blight, corruptin' my mama's memory, the land's purpose. Cross-exam. Hargrove slid the photos forward. These, Mr. Hale? Your son's private life, stalked and stolen. This your purpose? Harlan blustered, but the judge's gavel fell final. Appeal denied, damages awarded. 10 grand for emotional distress. A slap but symbolic. Harlan stormed out, family trailing, Lydia's glance lingering. Regret, perhaps, or just defeat. Outside, cheers erupted from supporters, hugs exchanged. Sebastian lifted Nathaniel off his feet. Spin dizzying. We won, but victory tasted bittersweet. The war had scarred deep, family a casualty. As they drove home, rings glinting in sunset, Nathaniel whispered, Now we build. November stripped the trees bare, winds howling elegies through the hollows, carrying the scent of wood smoke and change. The farm stood resilient, repairs underway. New roof funded by the damages. A greenhouse frame rising by the barn. Sebastian's shelter plans sketched on the kitchen table amid coffee rings. Their wedding loomed, 2 weeks out, a beacon amid the wreckage. Invites had doubled, out-of-towners from Sebastian's Philly days, a rainbow contingent from Pittsburgh's Pride Center, even Jenkins' wife crocheting table runners. Yet shadows clung. Harlan vanished from town, rumors swirling, booze-fueled rages at the VFW. Lydia packing the minivan for her sisters in Ohio. Zeke slunk apologies via text. Pa's unhinged. Stay clear. Nathaniel ignored them, focusing on vows. Simple words he'd penned by firelight, promising roots and wings, through storm and shine. Sebastian, ever the planner, fretted details. Caterer from the city for veggie options. A playlist blending Springsteen and Sam Smith. No drama, he joked, but eyes held worry. The leaks echo his brother's silence since the call. Nathaniel soothed with touches. Mornings lazy in bed, sunlight slanting gold across skin. Love, they'd learned, was reconstruction. Layering forgiveness over fractures, trust mortared anew. The first crack reappeared unannounced. A Tuesday dusk when headlights pierced the gloom. Lydia's minivan, alone, crunching gravel tentative. Nathaniel watched from the window, Sebastian at his shoulder. Let her in, Seb murmured, or it festers. She climbed out bundled in wool, face gaunt, eyes hollowed by whatever war she'd waged internally. On the porch, she clutched a shoebox. Ruth's script faded on the lid. Nate, can I? He nodded, leading to the kitchen, Sebastian hovering neutral. Tea steeped awkward, steam veiling her flinch. I'm leaving him. For good. Ohio, maybe start over with the girls. Pause, hands twisting. I came for this. The box opened to letters. Ruth's hand, dozens, bundled with ribbon. She wrote me after you came out. Begged me to see you, not the sin. I burned one batch. In shame. Tears tracked, voice cracking. The rest? She wanted you to have proof, if you need it, of her mind. Clear, loving you fierce. Nathaniel's throat tightened, fingers tracing ink. Lydia girl. Blood don't lie. Nate's your heart, same as mine. Don't let fear carve it out. He looked up, conflict churning. Why now, ma? After the lies? The court. She met his gaze, raw. Watching you fight, Sebastian too. It broke something in me. Good broke. Ruth say it's grace. A beat. I'll testify if the damages go further. Against Harlan. For her. Sebastian shifted, voice soft. That's brave, Mrs. Hale. Lydia. She stood, box extended. Wedding. If it's open. I'd like to see my son happy. The door closed gentle behind her, leaving silence thick. Nathaniel sank to a chair, letters spilling. Pages of wisdom, wit, pleas for unity. She forgave, he whispered, even when I couldn't. Sebastian knelt, arms encircling. You don't have to, but doors open. That's something to... Forgiveness simmered, not boiled. Lydia's invite accepted, tentative. The wedding week unfolded in frenzy. Lights strung like stars, tables groaning under pies and roasts, a cake tiered with wildflowers. Rehearsal under the oak, Hargrove stumbling vows to laughter, Miriam toasting with dandelion wine. To love that outlasts hate. Night before, alone in the house, Sebastian at the clinic overnight for a foal. Nathaniel read Ruth's letters by candle, her voice alive. Stories of Grandpa's courting, warnings on Harlan's tempers, affirmations unyielding. You're my legacy, Nate. Gay or straight, you're Hale whole. Dawn found him, cried out, resolved. Ceremony dawned crisp, sky azure, hills rimmed gold. Guests mingled on the lawn, 50 strong. A tapestry of flannel and rainbow pins. Jenkins firing up the grill, city friends marveling at the view. Lydia arrived last, simple dress, girls in tow wide-eyed, hugging Nathaniel stiff but real. Proud, she mouthed, tears mirroring his. Sebastian waited under the arch, suit sharp, eyes locked as Nathaniel walked the aisle. Barefoot on grass, Ruth's quilt draped pew-style over chairs. Vows exchanged steady. I promise to stand ridge-strong, love you through the hollows. Rings slid home, kiss ceiling under cheers. The oak's branches applauding wind rustled. Reception spilled into dusk, fiddles and folk tunes weaving through toasts. Lydia pulled Nathaniel aside, voice low. Harlan called last night. Drunk? Cursin'. Said he'd burn the place before lettin' it stand. Her grip tightened. I told him it's over. For us. Fear flickered, but joy banked it. Thank you, Ma. As stars pricked the velvet sky, first dance swayed slow. Springsteen's If I Should Fall Behind. Bodies close, world fading. Husband. Sebastian whispered, grin wicked. Husband. Nathaniel echoed, heart full. The war's embers glowed that night. A call shattering peace. Zeke, panicked. Pa's comin', torch in hand. Heard him at the bar. End it all. Adrenaline surged. Guests roused. Jenkins grabbing his rifle. City friends dialing 911. Lydia herding kids to the minivan. Nathaniel and Sebastian raced to the ridge road. Truck bouncing ruts. Headlights cutting dark. Their Harlan silhouette by the barn. Gasoline can glinting, match struck flickering. Pa! Nathaniel bellowed. Leaping out. Sebastian close. Stop! Harlan whirled. Eyes wild, whiskey breath sour. You ruined it. Her. Everything. The match arced, landing in a puddle at his feet. Flame whooshing brief, then dying wet on sodden earth. Sheriff Tate arrived, sirens wailing. cuffs clicking on Harlan's wrists, arson attempt, public intox. As he was led away ranting curses, eyes locked on Nathaniel. "You'll burn too, boy. In hell." Lydia, arriving breathless, clutched his arm. "It's done. He chose this." Harlan's arraignment followed swift. Plea deal for probation, mandated rehab, a restraining order barring the farm. The family splintered. Zeke to Pittsburgh for work, Clara silent. Lydia settling in Ohio but visiting Sundays, mending slow over pie and stories. Winter thawed to spring again, the greenhouse blooming. Tomatoes for the shelter's soup kitchen. Cats adopted to grateful homes. Sebastian's brother reconciled over beer in the city. Apologies awkward but earnest. "I was scared. Like Dad. Won't be again." Nathaniel and Sebastian built. Adoption papers for a stray pup. Plans for a memorial garden. Ruth's roses bordering paths etched with her words, "Love endures." Town shifted gradual. Pride stickers in diner windows. Pastor Elias retired quiet. Miriam leading a grace circle at the church. Yet scars lingered. Nightmares of flames, doubts in quiet hours. But love anchored a compass true. One evening, under the oak, now strung permanent with lights, Nathaniel traced Sebastian's ring. "War's over." Sebastian pulled him close, kiss lingering. "Nah, but we've got the peace that follows." Years folded like the hills, time a gentle eroder, smoothing edges without erasing lines. 5 summers on, the farm sprawled fuller. The greenhouse a hub for Milford's community co-op, baskets of greens and herbs traded at markets where once glares had followed. Sebastian's shelter hummed, pens alive with rescues, volunteers from the high school learning empathy alongside leashes. Nathaniel tended it all, calluses thicker, smile easier, the ring on his finger polished by habit. Harlan faded to footnote, a trailer on the county line, rehab sticking sporadic, visits rare and stilted. Lydia thrived in Ohio, grandkids, Nathaniel's nieces, visiting summers, wide-eyed at Uncle Nate's magic garden, Sebastian's uncle jokes landing soft. Forgiveness wasn't erasure but coexistence. Holidays shared neutral, stories of Ruth bridging gaps. "She'd be proud," Lydia said once, over Thanksgiving turkey, her hand on his, "of the man you grew into." The town transformed subtle. Pride flags on Main Street poles come June. The Gazette running features on Hale Haven. The farm's new moniker, a nod to sanctuary. Pastor Miriam's sermons wove inclusion like kudzu, reclaiming pews for the outcast. Even Zeke returned, sheepish, apprenticing at the lumber mill. Beers shared on porches with tales of that crazy summer. Nathaniel and Sebastian's life wove deeper. A nursery built off the kitchen. Adoption papers signed for Elias, 2-year-old foster boy with curls like Sebastian's, eyes green as Nathaniel's, placed after a custody war of their own. "Family ain't blood," Nathaniel whispered nights, rocking the toddler as rain drummed, echoing Ruth's lullabies. "It's chosen." Elias grew fierce, chasing cats, demanding Uncle Seb's stories. His laughter a balm on old wounds. Mornings started chaotic. Pancakes flipped high, coffee black, plans for the day, clinic rounds, co-op harvests, evenings under lights with fiddles and friends. But war's echo, scars itched occasional. A decade on, Harlan's death came quiet, liver failure, alone, a note smuggled via Lydia. "Tell Nate, sorry. Couldn't say it breathing." Nathaniel burned it like the first, but attended the sparse graveside, Sebastian's hand in his, Elias on hip oblivious. "He was broken," Nathaniel said after, driving home through mist. "Didn't make him monster, just lost." Sebastian squeezed his knee. "You found your way. That's the win." Legacy bloomed. Ruth's garden expanded, benches carved with her quotes. "Fight for what's yours, but love what's shared." Drawing hikers, lovers, the weary seeking shade. A plaque at the gate. "In memory of Eleanor Ruth Hale, who taught us home is where the heart stands firm." One autumn eve, leaves carpeting gold, Nathaniel and Sebastian walked the ridge, Elias scampering ahead with Boomer's successor, a mutt named Legacy. The air crisp, scented pine and earth, the world vast below. Hills rolling to horizons painted sunset fire. Think she sees? Nathaniel asked, arms slung round Sebastian's waist. She does. Sebastian kissed his temple, lingering. And she's grinning. Down the path Elias turned, arms wide. Daddies! Race! They ran, laughter trailing, hands linked. A family forged in fire, tempered by time. The war that sparked in shotgun echo and shotgun blasts of heart had ended not in triumph or tragedy, but endurance. Love as revolution, quiet and profound. In the hollows of America, where faith and fault lines clash, they stood, Hales and Coles entwined, unbreakable. Ruth's final letter, tucked in the box's bottom, yellowed but eternal. Boy, life's a war worth wagin', but the peace, that's the prize. And so it was.